Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know at the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Certain Corn Herbicide. Unleash residual power early to allow for pre or post application to attack weeds at their weakest. I'm Joe Everett with today's farm news. Some quick calendar reminders. Powered by soy biodiesel, catch the Ohio AgNet in South Charleston with Sunrise Cooperative today as they kick off their FFA Career Day series. Students will have the opportunity to explore careers in ag and get a behind-the-scenes look of Sunrise Cooperative. Then hundreds of Ohio Farm Bureau members will be gathering in Columbus to meet one-on-one with their state senators and representatives during the 2026 Ag Day at the Capitol this week. Join the Ohio AgNet as we broadcast from the event with coverage brought to you by the Ohio Farm Bureau. Now let's check in with Brianna Smith, who catches up with Dwayne Statler, National Pork Producers Council President.
Joining me is Dwayne Statler. He's a pork producer and farmer here in Ohio and also the current president of the National Pork Producers Council. Dwayne, you're wrapping up your year of service. What has been the biggest accomplishment this past year?
I think the biggest accomplishment in the last year has been navigating this new administration. It's been a little bit different. It's one of those where you need to watch what you're doing and watch what you say. But on the same token, they are very receptive of you with your ideas and your investments. When you can get to them, on a one-on-one basis.
What challenges do you still see on the horizon for the pork industry?
The things that we got to keep in mind is we can't let our guard down. We still have activists that would like nothing better than to see all animal production stopped. We're working on that in Oklahoma right now. We're working on it in Oregon. We can't rest on our laurels, and we've got to be on the watch out for that going forward.
What are you most looking forward to with wrapping up your presidency and going back home to the farm? What are you most looking forward to there?
Taking some time to be out in the shop and get some things done.
Excellent. Awesome. Always good to get some things accomplished, whether it's at home or in D.C.,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Statler's term officially ends March 5th at the National Pork Industry Forum in Kansas City. Ohio producer Pat Hord will become president-elect and is slated to take over presidency in 1 year. Until then, Iowa producer Rob Brenneman will serve as president. Reporting for Ohio's Country Journal and Ohio AgNet, I'm Brianna Smith.
Hey, thanks, Brianna, for the update. News making national headlines. The U.S. Department of Agriculture on Thursday launched the Farmer and Rancher Freedom Framework, a policy initiative designed to shield producers from what the department calls politically motivated legal actions and regulatory overreach. Secretary Brooke Rollins described the four-pillar plan as a cornerstone for defending agriculture heritage and providing fairness in rural America. The framework formalizes existing USDA efforts to streamline regulations, reduce compliance burdens, and enhance protections for farmers and ranchers facing litigation or enforcement actions. Agriculture stakeholders welcomed the announcement, though critics argue it could weaken environmental and consumer safeguards. The policy echoes recent USDA moves to end agricultural lawfare, which has been discussed by groups within USDA strategy briefings. The initiative also comes amidst broader debates over farm profitability, market pressures, and federal intervention in agriculture. Now let's check in for an update from Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me now is Glenn Arnold. Glenn is the Field Extension Specialist in the area of manure nutrient management application at Ohio State. Over 40 years you've been working in extension doing programs, and obviously more recently it's focused more with manure and livestock. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen, or maybe newest technologies that you think are really going to be grabbing hold in the next couple of years?
Well, there's the automation is probably one of them. The 360 rain units that we see going up in Ohio, we've gone from none 10 years ago to probably 25 or 30 of those units running today. And if I were to project 10 years down the road, I think we would double that again. It's just opportunities to get manure out on fields, on growing crops during the summer. We've experienced several hot and dry summers recently, so those units have fit real well in that scenario. I think the other thing we're doing is we're putting a lot more manure on wheels, getting it to fields, unloading into dumpsters, unloading into frac tanks, whatever method is working best. And each manure applicator has their own system that they're working on, but it's really been neat to see the growth of these manure applicators, to see the investments they've made in technology and equipment to get better and more efficient.
Great news. Again, my guest today is Glenn Arnold with OSU Extension, just talking about some of the latest changes he's seen over the years when it comes to manure application and nutrient management. Glenn, thanks for all your work.
Glad to be here.
Reporting for the Ohio AgNet, I'm Dusty Sonnenberg.
Hey, thanks, Dusty. It's now time for today's weather, which is brought to us by Seat Consultants. Simply better performance online at seatconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
A beautiful Tuesday ahead of us here in Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. Temperatures remain above normal, significantly so today, tomorrow, and I'm going to say into Thursday. Big drop in temperatures finishes the week for Friday afternoon. However, I still think that we are mild enough on Friday to say we complete a full week of above normal temperatures. The weekend is chilly, and next week stays chilly as well. So let's talk about it. Moisture pops up in north and northwest Ohio for tomorrow as a system passes by mostly over the Great Lakes region. A few hundredths to a few tenths from US 30 northward. And then we see Thursday, midday, afternoon, and evening, another round of moisture coming in. That one could bring anywhere from a quarter to 3/4 of an inch with 60% coverage across the Buckeye State. The big key there is it ushers in cold air for Friday afternoon. We are quite chilly all the way through next Wednesday, then warming. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Coming up, Ty Higgins will catch up with Brad Miller, who's an agronomist with DeKalb and Asgrow, about input budget considerations for 2026. That's all coming up next here on the Ohio AgNet.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals, your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Farmers, crop consultants, certified livestock managers, and agribusiness leaders. Keep up with the latest trends in agriculture March 10th and 11th at the Conservation Tillage and Technology Conference at Ohio Northern University in Ada. Increase your knowledge and bottom line with over 60 presenters. Register for the conference today at cttcohio.com and get exclusive access to videos of the sessions after April 15th. CCA and CLM credits included. Well, after some challenges in 2025, still plenty of reasons to celebrate. Brad Miller, an agronomist with DeKalb and Asgrow, our guest. As we look back at 2025, I've heard the words pleasantly surprised more often than I thought I would after we had another challenging year with Mother Nature.
Yeah, one of the things I heard a lot at harvest time is they were surprised how much corn was produced per acre, and you know, a lot of guys just sit on their own cord that, you know, it's a testimony of how the genetics is handling stress a lot better these days.
2026 offering up some challenges, I'm sure, as we get into the planting season. As farmers look at that bottom line, they're going to have to make some tough choices. There are going to be some cuts just because of the current farm economy. What can't be touched? What is an input that farmers look at that line and they're like, nope, I'm not changing that for anything?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, we talk about fertility. Can we cut on fertilizer or not? You know, the one thing we cannot cut on is nitrogen. I think that's pretty common knowledge. You know, but the other thing is, you know, make sure your soil tests are up to date, and, you know, sometimes you can cut back on things like phosphorus that stick around the soil for quite a while. So make sure you know what your soil tests are telling you. But I would not cut back on nitrogen. You know, there's a lot of value in getting nitrogen down pre and then come back early post, or side dress, you know, spread that nitrogen out over the season, because one thing that doesn't change is we can never predict the weather. So we don't know if we're going to get another dry summer or a lot of wet weather where we lose nitrogen. So you want to make sure it's available to the plant.
We're recognizing some winners of the yield contest through DeKalb and Asgrow. As you looked at the winners, and I know you know a lot of them, been to their farm several times, people want to learn from those farmers. What'd you do different? What'd you do that was so successful? Is there any common denominator as to what made the yields for the winners tonight so large?
Well, I think one of the things you as you talk to these guys, you know, a lot of them say, well, you know, I made sure to not cut back on inputs. You know, what are the things that make the big difference? You know, make sure there's enough nitrogen there, we already talked about, but looking at the seeding rate, the hybrid selection, the genetics that you're using, and then other things that can help alleviate, you know, mitigate stress, things like fungicide applications. So I think those are some of the things that are in common for these contest winners with the corn. You know, and then soybeans, you know, it's a lot about disease management, picking a farm that has good drainage so you don't have issues with root rots and things like that.
We talk about risk management quite a bit, and I'm not just talking about crop insurance or other risk management factors on the farm. Technology can be a piece of that puzzle as well. Are you seeing that as far as farmers and adopting new technologies to help that risk?
Yeah, you and I were talking about that a little bit ago, and I think it's a good reminder that a lot of the technologies that have been brought out in the last 5-10 years really do mitigate a lot of stress. And I think there's probably some pests out there that we kind of forgot about, things like European corn borer, that we haven't had conventional corn for a long time, and BT corn really helped reduce that pest. So you might say, well, maybe I'll go back to some conventional corn and cut costs on seed a little bit, but I think the savings isn't going to make up for the loss you have with yield potential. So the technologies can really reduce a lot of risk.
What's the one word you would give me as we talk with farmers across the state and prepare for 2026?
Look for things new that are coming down the road. There's a lot of new technology that's going to be here in the next 2 to 3 years that I think can make a really big impact. So,
Brad Miller, an agronomist with DeKalb and Asgrow, our guest from their Yield Chasers celebration in Findlay. Appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, Ty.
Hey, thanks, Ty, for that update. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Nearly 90% of farmers say that financial worries, constantly changing market conditions, and other uncontrollable variables take a toll on their mental well-being. Add in the weather and family dynamics, well, it's a lot to handle alone. But did you know farmers and their families can receive free confidential services from licensed professionals? Support is available 24/7 to help with the challenges you face. Look for Farm Family Wellness Alliance under the Resources tab at farmfoundation.org. Take care of yourself. Your well-being matters.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to bring the brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Learn more about marketing your soybeans with LDC at 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets were closed yesterday in observance of the President's Day holiday, so we don't have a lot of new intel to pass along to you here this morning. We can tell you that last Friday, brokers estimate that Managed Money were net sellers of 1,300 contracts of wheat, 6,500 contracts of beans, 3,100 contracts of soy oil, and 2,100 contracts of meal. They also sold 1,400 corn, but we were close to flat through a large part of the day. French winter wheat ratings are at a 3-year high. 91% of the French winter wheat crop now rated good to excellent. French farmers are seeding early spring barley with 30% completed. They're looking to seed extra acres based on old crop prices being at a 3-year high. Chinese and Middle East demand for barley has been quite strong. Evidently they like their beer. Probably not. It's something else. But you get the idea. Not a lot of news that's going to help the wheat market here, at least as we get started with this week, especially with the volume being at a multi-year high last week. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, things all in the red in Chicago. Let's start off with March corn, $4.28 3/4, down 3 cents. May corn trading down 3 1/4 to $4.38 3/4, and July corn $4.46 3/4, down 3 1/4. As we turn to soybeans, March $11.26, down 7 cents. May soybeans $11.41 1/2, down 7 cents, and July soybeans trading down 7 cents as well to $11.53 1/2. And July wheat $5.51 1/4, down 5 3/4, and September wheat $5.63 3/4, down a nickel. As we turn to livestock from yesterday's close, February live cattle $243.07, up 57 cents. April live cattle $240.62, down 2 cents. And June live cattle $231.15, down 10 cents. April lean hogs $91.27, down 55 cents. May lean hogs $95.30, down 75 cents. April feeder cattle $363.45, down 17 cents. May feeder cattle $359.42, down 47 cents. And March Class 3 milk $15.89, up a penny. Have a great morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.